Tech Talk with Matthew Dickerson. Matthew Dickerson. Tech Talk. Sit back and relax. It's time to talk technology.
Greetings, forward thinkers, curious cats, and idle ponderers. It's time to strike your thinkingest pose. So find yourself a comfy rock, rest your chin on your fist, and welcome to your weekly dose of enlightenment. It's time for Tech Talk with Matthew Dickerson. Now, in today's episode, we're looking for new and innovative places to drop a nest of solar cells. Look out, they may land right in the dead centre of your town. A little bit of dad humour there. Now, Waymo autonomous taxis, they're a lot of fun, but a word of warning to miscreants out there, they make a terrible getaway vehicle. We've got a funny story with some shenanigans coming out of San Francisco. And on top of all that, we've got some interesting developments in battery technology, some stuff on hydrogen-powered flight, and all things going right and wrong with AI. But all these are merely headlines without substance. If I don't hurry up and bring the man of the hour into the gig, please, ladies and gentlemen, be upstanding and put your hands together for our resident tech boffin. Welcome, Matthew Dickerson.
Thank you ever so much. Now, I want to start this week with a public service announcement, which will only be relevant for people that download the podcast as soon as it comes live.
Right.
Because the 27th of July is when this podcast is live.
Right.
And on the 27th of July, we've got a national security alert test.
Of course, yes.
So at 2 p.m. on the 27th of July, 2 p.m. in Eastern Australian time, so New South Wales, Victoria, Queensland, 2 p.m, so relevant for people in Australia, at 2 p.m. today, if we want to call it that, if people listen to it on this day, then your phone should make a noise to say, this is a test, this is a test, that this is something happening. The whole idea here is that we can use our mobile phone network for some sort of emergency alert. Fantastic. And I remember listening to the radio one day, and there was a guy from Canberra who said that he had this great little invention. It was a radio thing that was used for alerting people to an emergency. And he was talking about this, and I'm thinking to myself, has he heard of mobile phones?
Yeah.
So he wanted everyone to go and buy this thing.
Buy a separate piece of...
Put the batteries in it that you had to change every couple of years. You put that in your glove box and one in your home.
Yeah, carry it around your pocket.
Obviously, and if there was some problem, whether it might be a bushfire, whether it might be some issue that you needed to be alerted and you wanted everyone to know about it, this device received the alert. And I'm begging...
$50 a pop.
That's right.
Yeah,
I'm begging the interviewer to say, but what about a mobile phone? But the interviewer didn't. The interviewer just went through and listened to all that he had to say. And I'm thinking, no, you're not getting it. We've all got this already. So this is great that we're doing the alert. We've seen it happen in different places around the world. But a particular word of warning, if you've got a phone in a situation where it can't make noise, shouldn't make noise, and I'm thinking of a few situations here. A child in a classroom, for example, should have their phone turned off.
Students should have them turned off and in their bag.
Maybe if you're doing something, if you're watching a concert at that time of day, now 2 o'clock in the afternoon, probably less likely. Maybe you're a surgeon performing surgery and you don't really want a sudden movement from someone. Anyone that's in a situation where having a sudden noise that's unexpected happening might be a bit alarming. Maybe people in a situation where they need to have a second phone, it might be a domestic violence situation, for example. Any phone that's turned on at 2 p.m. on the 27th of July will make a noise. It doesn't matter if you've got it on vibrate, alert, noise turned off, whatever it is. The whole idea of the emergency alert system is that it bypasses all of that.
That's right.
And your phone should make a noise. So it should be funny if you're in an environment where there are a bunch of people with their phones turned on, because they should all start making lots of noise there. But it's something that, again, it's good to test the system.
Yeah.
And obviously what the carriers can do is test this or use this in the real world on certain towers. So you don't need a bushfire alert in Western Australia if there's a bushfire in Victoria, for example. You need the bushfire alert around where the bushfire is. And that's the great thing about the system we've got now is they can limit it to just towers around a certain location. So 2 p.m, 20th of July, keep that in mind. Now, on the flip side of that is not new news to any of our listeners, but Australia had a bit of an issue with a mobile phone network outage.
Yeah.
And this obviously grabbed a lot of headlines, and there's lots of jumping up and down about how can this possibly happen. And the root cause of this was time synchronization. Now, we've talked a bit about this before with GPS, for example. You've got atomic clocks on the satellites. We've got 31 satellites in use at any one given time in GPS. So atomic clocks in it. They've got time that's very accurate on those. And they communicate with
To a
devices.
billionth of a second, I believe.
Absolutely, and probably better in some of them now. So you've got very accurate time there, and they're communicating with devices on the land, on the face of the planet. And so that timing is all about how they work out their position, how long it takes a signal to get from one device to another. The mobile phone network is a little bit different, but it has similar concepts in that it's synchronizing different parts of the network to make sure the communication from a tower back to a base station, back to a phone, etc., is all happening within the right realm of time.
Right.
One of the servers, for whatever reason, when it was rebooted, it needed a software update, rebooted, and it put the time out, I imagine when I first heard the story, a few milliseconds, maybe a second or two. It put the time out about 20 years. It wouldn't have mattered. If it was a few seconds or 20 years, it wouldn't have mattered. Some people make a big deal about the fact that it was 20 years.
That's still extraordinary that it was 20 years.
Yeah, that's right. And I don't quite know why it was 20 years out, but essentially that shut down the mobile phone network. Now, a lot of people gnashing of teeth, a lot of issues there. And the funny part was I didn't actually realise it. It happened at 4:30 in the morning, so most of us are asleep at that time. Or this is at 8th of July, Wednesday, 8th of July it might have been. And so at 4:30 in the morning, the network stopped. Now, I was getting text messages at home when I got up early in the morning, so I didn't have any clue that anything was happening. I had some radio interviews that morning, and I was in a studio at about 7:30 in the morning, and I actually went to answer one of the text messages I had while waiting for the interview to start, and it wouldn't go. And you don't think of the network being down.
No, that'd be the last thing on your mind.
You think, what have I done here? Should I reboot my phone? Why isn't that person getting my message? Have I got the wrong number? They've just sent me a message. That's a bit weird. You're going through all these thought processes.
We're starting to get a bit primal with this. like a chimpanzee wanting to bang a tool or something like that.
That's right.
On the ground.
And the interviewer actually said to me, oh, you heard about the Telstra outage? I went, that's probably why this text message isn't going.
Yeah.
Now, about 9:30 a.m. that morning, the network was supposedly up and running again, mostly. A few things weren't quite happening properly. But the thing to me is how dependent we are upon our mobile networks now.
That's it.
The train system in regional Victoria was shut down. The trains existed. The track existed.
Yeah.
The drivers were there, yet the train system was shut down.
Yeah.
And what worries me a little bit about that is that I'd be asking some severe questions of the people running that train network to say, did you ever think you should need some redundancy in place? Did you ever think of looking at the points of failure about what might happen and how you might accommodate that? Most of them have probably got some sort of backup power, but you need some backup communications as well.
Well, I remember thinking 30 years ago, we're so dependent on electricity, and we are, that if we were to lose one thing on this planet and it was electricity, we would be really stuffed. But now it's gone beyond that. It's gone a step further. We're now so dependent on the internet and things working in that regard that, we just lose it completely.
So I'll give you a couple of examples of things that have happened over the years. Back in 2008, going back that far, Optus had a major outage across Queensland, and that was caused by one person with a digger digging a hole and went, whoops, didn't see that fibre optic cable there.
Yeah.
And that fed the majority of Queensland for all of Optus services.
Yeah.
So that was a big deal. And again, splicing together a big fibre optic cable that just got cut through is not just get those couple of we'll twitch them together.
That same thing happened in Eastern Europe in, was it the early 2000s or late 1990s? And, a lady digging in a garden. Went through some
in a garden?
Yeah, and she shut off Eastern Europe. You can look that one up on the internet, folks. It's an interesting story.
At least this guy had an excavator. He was a bit serious about it, just there with your little garden shovel.
Yeah, there's this older lady. Yeah.
So that was one. 2016, Telstra had some mobile outages. 2021, Meta had Facebook, Instagram and WhatsApp down across the globe for 6 hours. And I remember that one because people were obviously blaming everything else apart from Meta being down. What's happening? Why can't I get onto that? What's happening to my account? Suddenly it was nothing to do with the individuals. 2023, Optus had a national outage that was disrupted for about a day. That was, again, a big drama. The one that always interests me the most is 2024 when CrowdStrike had an issue, and CrowdStrike have got a great market share in protecting the internet, and they effectively took down the internet across the world.
Yeah.
So that was a big one. So you might remember that one. Banks, airlines,
That's right.
Everything was suddenly unavailable. Yeah,
Yep.
crazy. And then, of course, this one in 2026. And I remember being at a conference where the former CEO of Telstra, Andy Penn, he was speaking at this conference in about 2016. And he said when he first started at a senior level in Telstra, when he was up at the sort of C level in Telstra, if you had an outage for 3 or 4 hours, he said people maybe noticed it. People went, oh, that was a bit of a pain. And that was about it. And this is 2016 he was talking.
Yeah.
He said people
Not that
have an
long
outage
ago.
now for 3 or 4 minutes.
Yeah.
That's a major drama. Now, jump forward another 10 years, then yes, people have an outage for not 3 or 4 minutes, 3 or 4 seconds, I think, although it went a bit longer than that. But there are so many things. Retailers couldn't work. Uber didn't exist in 2016 when Andy Penn said that quote about you're down for a few minutes and people really notice.
Right?
Uber, well, that mightn't be quite correct.
sorry, but
Uber wasn't really
it was
the level it's
around
at
about that
now.
time. Yeah.
So you didn't have people losing out on their income because you couldn't
People
pick someone up.
stranded, not being able to get to where they need to go.
All that sort of thing. So, again, trains down. So many things were taken down because of this. Now, the other point I would make, and I think this point's been made by various people in the telecommunications industry, right, we've got to do something so this never happens again. Well, you're dreaming.
Yeah.
What we have now, what we have created over the years with all of our networks, whether it be the individual carriers, whether it be the internet in general, whether it be the various government organisations like NBN, what we've got across the globe is an incredibly complicated array of devices that need to communicate with each other in certain ways. There is going to be an outage. I guarantee to you right here today, there is going to be another outage at some point in the future. How big, how far, all the rest of it, I can't tell you that, but there will be an outage. And I suppose the big thing for people is, do you try and build some redundancy in place for those outages? Now, if you're running an airline, yeah, you probably do. If you're running hospital equipment and you've got equipment that relies on, or people staying alive relying on that equipment, you probably want to have some good redundancies in place.
Hope there'd be a redundancy in there.
If you've got a retail outlet, some people will complain about that. If you've got a retail outlet and the decision is to spend a lot of money on redundancy or say, you know what, when the next outage happens, I'm just going to have to close the doors for a while and accept the fact that I can't make money, you make up that decision. You put a risk reward in there. I've seen people want to spend a lot of money on redundancy and you go, but what's the worst if you do have an outage?
Yeah.
You can't trade for a couple of hours and you lose X dollars compared to, well, you spend a lot more money than that on the maybe. It's a bit like an insurance policy. How much do you spend on ensuring something doesn't happen? But again, if you've got people's lives at risk, 000, for example, if you've got things that you absolutely rely on, you've got to have that redundancy in place. But you've got to make those decisions and don't be surprised when the next time it happens.
And I think, certainly there are extraneous situations that really need 24/7 without break, those 000 situations and whatnot. But for a lot of us, we just got to take a chill pill and remember how we dealt with these things in the 80s. She'll be right.
Well,
she'll be Jake.
Even the 000, and again, I'm not trying to make light of the situation here if people can't call 000, that's terrible. But I was actually standing at a field days a couple of days after this happened, and some people were talking to me about what was going on. And I said, you've got to remember that where we were standing at that particular point in time was out in a paddock. And I said, we don't have to go back many years ago that if I had a heart attack standing here, then people would say, no, he's a nice guy, bit of bad luck about that.
Yeah.
And that's the end of it. Now I have a heart attack standing here in the middle of this paddock. The assumption is that we can get 000 and we can get someone to come and help me and there'll be an ambulance there within minutes and everything's okay.
Yeah.
But we've got the luxury of all our modern conveniences now.
Yeah.
So that's judging everything by today's standards, but you don't have to go back very far, and we just didn't have all those conveniences. So
100%.
we've become very accustomed to it. The expectation of the public in all of these communications is that it's all wonderful now. We don't ever want to go backwards. We don't ever want it to be out. We want it to always work like this and always work perfectly, and that's just not realistic, unfortunately. So again, I'm not making a lot of the situation. Yes, 000, there are certain obligations that carriers have to have, and that's very important to us because we expect that. But it's just we have got it very good now compared to not that many years ago.
100%.
Anyway.
All right, we better get started with our stories for the day. If you're listening to us in the Northern Hemisphere, our sincerest, coolest thoughts go out to you from our cosy little midwinter hideaway here in central western New South Wales. With various parts of Europe, Asia and North America being hit by regular heatwave conditions across a long hot summer, there's rarely been a greater need for clean, efficient air conditioning. And that's the opportunity that hawkers and grifters have been looking for. The glossy online ads for cheap and clever and unbelievably effective air conditioning units inundate social media algorithms. But let the buyer beware. If it seems too good to be true, Matt.
You've got to listen to that, haven't you? If it does seem too good to be true, it
Probably isn't.
That's right.
Yes.
So, Western Europe has had the hottest June ever on record.
Mm-hmm.
England, 37.7 degrees Celsius maximum in June, hottest temperature ever recorded.
Yeah.
May, June, July, England had temperatures, at least a temperature in each of those 3 months above 35 degrees, the first time ever. So I think it's fair when someone say it's a heat wave, although we look at 37.7 and we go, 37.7.
Harden up. Yeah, but they've broken this record now. I wonder how long before they break that record.
Yeah, absolutely right. But if nothing else, scammers see an opportunity, sense an opportunity.
Yes.
They're very clever at saying, I think there's a market here. I think there's an opening here. So across the internet, you go and look almost anywhere, any social media sites, go on YouTube, go on the various marketplaces, and you'll see some unbelievable, I mean unbelievable because they're not actually real, devices that will cool your room. So some of these devices say things like they will cool your entire room in just 90 seconds. And they're devices, some of them sit in the palm of your hand. Unbelievable technology. What sort of madness, what sort of crazy technology is that? Some of them look a bit like desk fans because they are desk fans. They're selling $20 desk fans advertised as unbelievable new cool technology for $150. So they're going to Kmart or whatever the equivalent is in England, and they're buying a desk fan and then marketing with this wonderful technology around it. And you buy it and go, gee, it doesn't seem to be cooling. This is blowing a bit of air out, but it's pretty hot air because it's just taking air from the back of the fan.
Circulating the hot air.
That's right.
Oh,
and when you start to think about the
people
physics
are so
of it,
vulnerable. Yeah.
well, they are.
Yeah, that's right. You have to go back to the physics.
And look at a room that you're trying to cool. And air is fairly easy to change the temperature of. But what you're really trying to change the temperature in a room is the walls, the ceiling, the floor, the couch, the various things, the people. All of these things have got retained heat.
Yeah.
So you're trying to cool all those bodies down. So that's a bit harder to do. And so I just don't know, I haven't done the calculations, but what temperature would you have to need to be injecting into a room to get to cool a 30-degree room to 20 degrees in 90 seconds with all of those bodies retaining heat
also
fairly well?
Also radiating their own heat.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
So it would be it'd be minus something or other to get that room down. But again, if someone says, save your electricity bill, because I'm sure some people are not running their cooling devices because their electricity bill's so high. If you saw something that promised for only $150 to save your electricity bill, cool your room in 90 seconds, save the heat in your room, make yourself comfortable, wow, that sounds fantastic. And it's only $150. That sounds unbelievable. Let's go and get one of those. And they are selling, people are buying them because obviously the complaints are starting to roll in after that.
Yeah.
Didn't really seem to do it in quite the way you said. The other trap to look out for is the reviews. The reviews for these products are fantastic. They are the greatest reviews ever. They're on the site that the person's advertising the product.
Yeah.
So it's pretty easy to create some fake reviews. So if you do see one, you think that looks like a reasonable product, go to some independent sites, try and look for reviews there from people that aren't directly linked to the site that you're looking at. But it's just, I suppose the important part here is, remember your science when you're at school. Go back and just think about your science. And when you see some sort of claim, I've seen various energy machines that keep giving you energy forever.
Yep.
Just listen to some of your basic science from your wonderful science teacher you remember from your high school years. Maybe then you'll think, maybe this doesn't sound quite right.
But people are constantly saying, do your own research on this. And, getting that understanding of how physics works and the bigger picture of how to cool a room.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what I loved, I actually went and looked at some of these. What I loved about it was you say the basic laws of physics, make sure you remember those. But of course, these are breaking the laws of physics when you read some of the ads. They've got breakthrough engineers, or breakthrough invention, sorry. But the one that seems to be the most common phrase that I saw was former NASA engineer.
Yeah.
So that must be a really good thing to have on your CV.
And
if you're
also,
a NASA engineer.
The government wanted to try and lock it up. So they wanted to keep it a secret or something.
That's right. Or even some company some major company bought the patent for this so they could lock it down and not sell you this product, but now the patent's expired. It's just, you read some of the things and they they sound so fantastic and you just go, Oh,
Let it go through to the keeper, folks.
That's right. Let it go through the keeper. Just have a bit of a think about it. Ring your old science school teacher, high school teacher, and say, "Does this sound real?"
Not everyone. I just
Just a few of them, the favourite students.
Waymo autonomous taxis are now featuring in cities all over the west coast of the US. Dare I say, they're becoming commonplace? They continue to hold their novelty value, though, a popular alternative to conventional taxi services. There's obviously no driver to get annoyed with unruly passengers, but it is worth taking note that patrons should mind their P's and Q's all the same, as two youngsters found out the hard way recently. It seems that Waymo taxis are a poor choice for a gangster's getaway car, Matt.
Dibber Dobber taxis, I think, is the new name for them. So a couple of 15-year-olds in California thought it would be fun to have a few drinks, alcoholic drinks, and jump in the back of a taxi because, as you said, it looks like I'm home free because there's no taxi job there.
There's no grown-ups to wear me down.
Tell me what to do. So they jumped in there. Now, there's a bunch of cameras, which Waymo don't hide from, a bunch of cameras outside the car and inside the car for your safety. Obviously, the ones outside the car focus on your safety. Inside the car, it's debatable whether it's safety or whether it's safety of the car. But they're monitoring the behaviour. There's some AI sitting behind the scenes. And if the behaviour is seen to be not appropriate for someone sitting in a taxi, then some humans at Waymo head office are alerted that maybe they should keep an eye on this. Now, these kids jumped in, having a few drinks. I don't know that would have put the AI on high alert or even the humans on high alert, but the clincher was they then had a little, like a BB gun. It's called an Orbeez gun.
Orbeez, yeah. Orbeez are those little pellets that got water in them.
Yeah, and I haven't played with one of those, or kids haven't played with those, but yeah, they shoot little polymer beads or water
polymer beads, that's right.
Yeah.
And they swell in water, that's what they do.
Great fun when you're at a party in your backyard with a few teenage kids to run around and shoot some BB guns or Orbeez or whatever, but not so much fun when you're driving through the streets of California and you're hanging it out the window and you're shooting this because, and I don't want to sound too harsh on Americans here, but if I'm walking down the street minding my own business and I see a car come past with a gun-like device hanging out the window, I'm probably not thinking it's a bit of a toy. I'm diving for cover. So because it's not that unusual to have something like that happen. So obviously, in this scenario, that probably put the AI on high alert. They got Waymo interested. So the Waymo head office did the only thing that a sensible Waymo head office person would do, and it automatically redirected the car not to the destination the kids had put in, but to the local police station. They rang the police and said, "We've got a couple of likely suspects who are going to be dropped at your doorstep." So you can imagine
here's the video.
Well, here's the video, that's right. But you can imagine when the car stopped, the kids probably weren't paying that much attention where they were going, and the door opens for them and they walk into the arms of a police officer and probably their parents not far behind, then you can just imagine that they're going, "I don't like those Waymo taxis." They've dobbed on me severely. I mean, it's all, to me, a good story. There are some privacy advocates saying, this is terrible, look at this. Obviously, Waymo's looking at everything you do. It comes down to that same old thing. If you're doing the right thing, you probably don't care if someone's watching. If you're doing the wrong thing, you probably do care. So,
and if you're into doing the wrong thing, then just don't take a Waymo taxi.
And to your point, a bank getaway, if you're going to rob that bank and jump in there with the piles of cash in the bags with a big dollar sign on them.
Baby driver, this ain't. Yeah.
Can you go faster? No, I'm going to stick to the speed limit, sir.
Stick to the speed limit. I'm taking you to the cop shop.
Yeah, that's right. So we've got a long way to go, haven't we, with autonomous? But I just love stories like this that show that it should make for a safer society. I hadn't thought about this sort of situation.
No one had.
About the cars being driven safely, but also it might be safer for people that are in the cars.
Yeah.
And I started to wonder, what else would it deem inappropriate behaviour in the back of a taxi? So maybe two people getting in the back of a taxi that are very friendly with each other and maybe like to do things that teenagers do that they aren't allowed to do at home because their parents are around.
I was just going to go with littering.
Right,
just finish your chocolate wrapper and then drop it on the floor. Hey, mate, pick that up. You know.
Well, that's a nice one as well. So I was thinking of all sorts of things that might happen in the back of taxis. So keep an eye out for that. If you're getting in the back of a Waymo, I think I just sit there with my hands clasped together on my knees and sit there very politely.
Be careful, the cameras are on. As energy demands grow further and further, it seems that more and more people are looking towards installing solar panels to fill the need. The question that seems to have divided some communities, though, is where do you put them? On the roof of car parks, shopping malls and warehouses seems to be a popular option, often with people who don't actually own the car parks, shopping malls or warehouses. Throughout Europe, America and Asia and Australia, farmland is taking up a dual purpose, but that has drawn some conjecture as well. The key is to use areas, stretches of land that are underutilised, and that has prompted a couple of literal thinkers to suggest cemeteries. Matt, what's the initial vibe about this as a potential solution?
Well, the great part now, James, is I've got a fantastic answer when someone says, "Oh, we're putting in solar panels over my dead body." Now I can say, well, I've got a solution for you. I love the concept, and I wasn't actually sure whether it was a bit of a marketing gimmicky concept just to promote this particular company's name. And I won't say the company's name because we don't try and promote individual products here. But there was a company that came out and said there are 3,400 cemeteries across this nation, and look at all that underutilised space. And so they came up with this concept called the solar inheritance. And so they were promoting the idea that you could put solar panels over cemeteries, so solar panels over grave sites. And I thought, it's funny, and they did a funny little video, and I thought, that's funny, it's interesting. And so I rang them, and I said, so are you serious about this, or is it just a bit of a gimmick to promote your solar products? And the guy said, no, we've got an application in for a Sydney cemetery to actually put solar panels over the cemetery.
Wow.
And I started thinking about whether it seemed like it was just morally wrong, whether it seemed like you were insulting people that were in the ground. But then I thought more about it, and I know I've been to places like an airport where the car park, the car park that's outside the airport or beside the airport, has got shade over it, and then they've used that shade for solar panels.
Well, that makes sense.
Yeah. I thought, hold on. When I go out and visit my mum and dad, who are both in our local cemetery, when I go out and visit them, I'm standing there in the sun. Gee, it'd be nice if I was under the shade. So why couldn't I put shade over graves, shade over cemeteries, and on top of that, have some solar panels on there? Fantastic idea.
But there are also some very old cemeteries where people aren't visiting any graves.
No, you're right. And I actually thought, so some of the cemeteries I see now are lawn cemeteries. I don't know if that's a common term. We call one of them here, where all the headstones are effectively in the ground. They're flat, parallel to the ground. Some of the old cemeteries have very large headstones. I think you used to show off how much money you had by how big a headstone you had. Yeah. When you've got headstones that might stand 6 feet, maybe 2 or 3 metres tall, maybe not 3 metres, but 2 metres tall, it starts to get pretty hard to start to put shade over all of that and make sure it's never going to interact. But for a lawn cemetery, that seems to make sense. But then you've got historic cemeteries, as you say, that are essentially full, that there's no more people going into, and they're done.
No one's visiting them, and they're just a big space where you can't really use it for anything else.
And I'm changing my mind now. I was thinking the other way. I was thinking the more modern cemeteries, ones that are still being utilised, still have spaces, have plots that people are ready to go into when they die. I thought that might be more relevant because they are being visited, and I thought people might be really insulted about looking at those old historic cemeteries and then putting shade over them. But maybe the fact that no one's visiting them because it's someone that died 200 years ago, maybe those are a better cemetery to use because you've got, as you say, unused space. The argument we always hear is we're destroying prime agricultural land to put solar panels on there. We still need to grow food. But in this argument, well, how can you argue against that land being utilised to put solar panels over the top?
The only difficulty, if it's a lawn cemetery, it'd be hard to keep the grass going without the light that it needs. But I just feel that there are a lot of places there where you see the headstones are falling over and whatnot. There's got to be an opportunity.
So then what happens with the money that I get from the solar panels? If the local council might own the cemetery and I've paid for my plot, do I want the money from the solar panel above my grave to go to my estate and keep giving 10 cents a day? I'm not sure, some small amount of money from my one solar panel.
A little bit of an incentive to allow it to run.
That's right. I mean, I imagine that the local council or the local organisation, might be a local church that owns that, will be the one that would reap the benefits from it. Yeah. And the way you would pitch it logically would be shade, so you can go and visit, or shade over some of those historic grave sites.
But driving around some of the suburbs in Sydney, there are some very old cemeteries that surely they filled up a long time ago. And Not a lot of great-grandchildren go and visit the tombstones of their great-grandparents.
Yep.
And any generation further along than that.
Yep.
It's kind of an ornament that sits there for no one to really pay any homage to.
It'll be interesting to see how many people visit some of those very old historic cemeteries.
Yeah.
So interesting. I like the concept that you're looking for space, because some people who have, for example, an apartment or live in inner Sydney or inner city living, it's hard for them to get some solar panels, and so they feel like people that live in their own house, well, they've got an advantage over the rest of us to be able to lessen their power bill, if you like. This might be a way that they could contribute. So a scheme could be set up where you could contribute to that and you own a little part of that.
Community-centred scheme.
Yeah, all that sort of thing. So I don't mind the idea. I'll be interested to see how they go.
I'm all in favour of it. I'm going to start campaigning for it right now.
Yeah, good work.
As the world dives deeper and deeper into AI's diverse potential, some governments, like Australia's own federal government, are looking to ways to at least keep some sort of a tap on it. And in a world where some people find it increasingly difficult to find an adequate partner, for whatever reason, many people turn to virtual AI-generated companions. Now, this has been identified as a particular problem in China by their government, but specifically among Chinese women. Historically, Chinese administration has a reputation for micromanaging family dynamics, shall we say. What is the deal for virtual boyfriends in China, Matt?
I actually thought the Chinese government would love this because they wanted to reduce the birth rate, so they had policies around reducing the birth rate, and that's been largely effective as I've seen from the outside looking in. So having Chinese women find companionship with AI means they're probably not going to have too many babies yet. There's no process that I know of at the moment where a chatbot, an AI, giving you some emotional support, listening to you, being empathetic, then involves pregnancy. So,
well, there's been a little bit on that with the one-child policy in cities in China, is that families want their name carried on. So boys have been favoured. So if you have got girls that are available there but aren't putting themselves forward to those boys, then how does the name get carried on?
Yep.
So hence the pressure on girls to get out there and be family makers. I would say that's got a lot to do with it.
Quite possibly, that's right. So it's interesting to see the government, new regulations came into effect from the 15th of July, so it's already in effect now, where AI services that simulate human personalities have got to be either restricted or give warnings about it. So what's happening is some of these relationships, people are thinking they're very real. They're sitting there having these wonderful conversations and, gee, my AI is listening to me, remembers what we talked about yesterday.
Respects me.
That's right, never butts in. Fantastic. Like I just have this really good relationship, but they now bring things in where effectively the companies that are doing it have got to say, this is actually AI at regular intervals. This is not a real person. Just give some reminders there, or make it not so lifelike, make it not so real in those conversations you're having, because people are being fooled and thinking they're in a relationship, and it's just a computer, it's just software, it's just lines of code. And so anyway, it's quite fascinating. I mean, it won't affect the regulations that came in won't affect things like customer service bots or workplace AI or even educational assistants. It's really just focused specifically on emotional or romance type AI, which there has been a bit of an explosion in China in particular, but across the world, I think. So China's the first government in the world that said, we can't have this. We can't have this going on. We just don't want relationships between humans and bots at that level.
And so, sorry, did you say that they're not outlawing it, they're just trying to redirect it a little bit?
Well, they've got new regulations that will govern AI services. So they will put things in place such as, on a regular interval, you've got to be reminded this is not another human. This is something that's a computer. This is something that's AI. There'll be some warning that'll be inserted. So you'll be having a lovely conversation and you get a bit of a jolt back to reality when the tool that you've given a name to probably says, by the way, Mary,
I'm not real.
I'm not real. That's right. Exactly right. So we often talk about the fact that technology gets ahead of regulation. I think this is quite fast moving from the Chinese government, but it's actually interesting that they've seen the need already to take these steps, which I thought was fascinating as well. But it's not just China it's happening, and certainly China had a problem, but I think across the rest of the world we're seeing exactly this problem. And not just women. There are a lot of men out there in relationships as well. With
some of those Chinese men, sorry, I don't mean to cast aspersions here, but you got to step up, fellas, and just be nicer fellas.
Maybe that's
be
it.
a better catch.
Can you be more like my AI boyfriend, and then I might be more interested in you.
As the hype over domestic humanoid robots increases, as they become more and more readily available to consumers, the question will very soon be, who can actually afford to own one of these things? There's a great deal of technology and expensive materials involved in these things. No surprises that initial pricing is along the lines of a new car, which puts them well out of reach of all but the wealthy. There's no point building these units and having them gathering dust in a warehouse, though. So to get these humanoids out there, robotics companies are looking at perhaps rental arrangements. A clever marketing plan, Matt. A less committal, dare I say, gateway drug for the tech-hesitant types?
It seems to be one of the trendy things, one of the trendy terms we see in IT at the moment is blank as a service. So we've got a whole range of things, software as a service or services as a service. And this is the latest one of those, which is robotics as a service. And I like the idea. There is one company in California now who you can get a household robot from either now or very shortly, but you've got to outlay US $20,000 for that robot.
A lot of robot money.
And I think there'd be some people who'd be prepared to pay that if they knew it was going to be complete, if they knew it was going to do what they needed it to do. But you get that and you go, oh, it's not too bad. But then you hear about your friend up the road who bought one 3 months later. Yeah. Oh, it does a sheet just like this.
See, that's the thing. I'm going to sit on my hands and wait for the best one to come
That's
out.
right, the best one
when
ever.
they stop developing these things, you know?
That's right.
You sit on your hands forever.
So if someone said to me US 20 grand, I would balk at that. I'd be a bit concerned about forking out 20 grand US. But if someone said to me US $4.99 per month, I'd probably have a go for a month and see how good it was and how much time it saved me, and could I justify that? And more importantly, in 3 months' time, when I hear about the new one that my friend up the road's got, then I can say, I'll just hand this one back, thanks, and I'll take the new one. Oh, the new one's $5.20 a month. That's fine.
That's all right.
Because I want my sheets done just like in hospital. I want those corners done just perfectly.
Fold the socks.
That's right, fold the socks. That's it. Now we're talking.
Gather the laundry off the floor.
As much as I'm focused on getting the robots in the home, there are some companies out there focused on industrial robots because they'll probably make more money out of that than doing them to me in my home when I don't want to pay US 20 grand for these. But hospitals, there is a robot called Moxie, and at the moment there are 100 of these Moxie robots in hospitals, all robotics as a service, all being paid a monthly fee.
And are these humanoid type robots?
Absolutely. So it seems to be most of them because people feel more comfortable with that sort of shape.
Yeah.
Interestingly enough, most of the humanoid robots I've seen are smaller than a normal human, and maybe that's so we find them less intimidating. Imagine a 2.4 metre robot delivering your medication to your hospital bed.
Well,
might be a bit scary.
The bigger the robot, the heavier it's going to be, the more power it's going to suck as well.
True.
So smaller would have less power, I'd say too.
Yeah, I was thinking more just the intimidation because that 2.4 metre robot turns up to my hospital bed. I'm looking at it going, I've been nice to you.
And humanoid robots, because if it rolls on wheels, it looks too much like a Dalek, and you don't want Daleks running through your hospital. That's going to really scare the Time Lords.
It would indeed, but I also think steps. We have steps in all sorts of places that we don't even think about because we can step over steps, little steps, big steps, up and down steps.
Yeah, or a cord lying across the floor.
True, true, absolutely spot on. So humanoid seems to be the way that most of them will develop, but we've got them in hospitals transporting medical supplies, freeing up nurses from their normal repetitive tasks. But aged care, we've got a lot of robots in aged care already. Again, doing some of those simple things, delivering meals. You don't need a human to deliver that meal. You need the human when someone says, I'm not feeling great, there is a problem, or the robot identifies that they deliver the meal to the person and they say, I'm not feeling great, or there's some issue that they detect, maybe just when they walk in the room. So
some ability to interact has got to be a plus, yeah?
Yeah, absolutely right. So we've got a whole range of these, but that seems to be more the model. Even with the industrial robots, that seems to be more the model, is that rental as a service, robotics as a service, which I think makes sense and will take off and will get it into more places. There's no surprise here as well that China is going very well. China have said some decades ago, we want to own the world in EVs, we want to own the world in robotics. This is the future for China.
Yeah.
They had a bit of vision, and I think it's all starting to come home now. And it's being realised.
Mm-hmm. With air transport consuming a significant percentage of the global fuel budget, in so doing contributing a significant amount to global carbon dioxide emissions, the race is on to build the first hydrogen-powered commercial aircraft. It's the holy grail of aviation and will completely revolutionise the industry when it happens, moving people long distances quickly, leaving clouds of water vapour in its path. Not chemtrails, clouds of water vapour. Matt, where are you up to with this hydrogen-powered business?
Well, can I start on that first? So chemtrails, which we know aren't chemical trails, but what we see as chemtrails in the sky, when we see the vapour in the sky as a normal jet goes through, if something is actually outputting water vapour, I still wonder whether you would see that, because as the way I understand it, my basic understanding is it's more about the temperature differential as that gas comes out.
Well, temperature and pressure are associated, so yeah,
so you
it's
see
to do
that
with
trail.
Pressure and temperature differentials.
So
I
wonder whether you would still see something, and you don't see it every time.
Yeah.
If a jet goes overhead, you don't see that
point.
trail every time.
Good point.
Because what were the
It's not
conspiracy
going to look like a
theorists?
chitty chitty bang bang sort of aircraft going put put put, blasting out clouds out the back.
But I wonder what chemtrail conspiracy theorists would say if they did disappear, because then how would the government be poisoning us, giving us chemicals if it's not through the sky? They have to come up with another method, maybe through fluoride in our water systems. That'd be it.
Chemtrail people, can you give us a call and let us know
what you
reckon?
That's right. So we know that aviation is a large contributor to greenhouse gas emissions. So we know that problem's got to be solved. And when I say we, not just you and I, the world knows this. And Airbus actually started a program called Zero E, written very cleverly, zero, all capital, and E lowercase. So there was obviously a stylisation there. Zero E Hydrogen Aviation Program. They launched it back in 2020. It gives you an idea of the time frame we're talking about to get the world to change over in a whole range of different areas. So they started on that, and I think their first concept was burning, in inverted commas, hydrogen, in the same way we might burn jet fuel to propel aircraft. But they've moved on from that. They found that it's probably not as efficient, and the efficiency of a jet engine or some type of engine that's burning hydrogen is maybe about 40% it can convert from the actual raw hydrogen to forward motion. Fuel cell seems to be where we're now headed in a whole range of transportation with hydrogen. One of the reasons is 60% efficiency compared to 40%. That's better. Other things that are advantages as well in terms of the way you would utilise that. One of the downsides of all of this is the way you store the hydrogen. In a car, you can store the hydrogen in a pressurised tank because you want to be able to put it under pressure, because hydrogen is obviously at room temperature is not very dense. So you want to compress it to fit more energy in. So you want tanks that can handle that. And then what you'd really love is to make it really cold, because, again, you can get more energy into a certain amount of volume. So that's probably the biggest thing they're exploring now. They've done a partnership with another company called MTU Aero Engines. It's a German company. So Airbus and MTU have gotten together and said, let's work on this. And so what they're really working on is liquid hydrogen using fuel cells to then will obviously generate electricity to power electric motors. That seems to be where the aviation industry is going. Not to say that's where it'll end up, but that's where it's going at the moment. And again, what they're doing with that is they're working on how to store it at pressure and how to store it very cold. And we've made some advances in both those areas in terms of pressure and cold to store that. Because I guarantee at the moment they could build an aircraft that would fly using hydrogen, but how far would it get is the big question. So you want to be able to get these further distances. We've talked about electric aircraft before, and I think they'll be great for the 1.5 hour maximum trip. Maybe 1 hour to 1.5 hours is kind of the sweet spot there. When you start talking about flying Sydney to LA, 12, 13-hour flight, you can't get enough batteries on with the ability for that aircraft to hold those batteries to get that sort of distance. And when I say can't, that's using current technology. But hydrogen, maybe we can get to that point where you'll get enough hydrogen on board to be able to fly some of those mid to long range distances. So that's all pretty exciting. But here's the thing, in terms of development time, they've made a big exciting announcement about this partnership. This is all going ahead. This is wonderful collaboration between two experts in their field, one in creating flying aircraft and one as opposed to aircraft that doesn't fly, flying
the
devices.
non-flying aircraft, right? Yeah, you gotcha.
And one that creates engines. And they're saying, with all of our wonderful technology and all of the brightest brains in our two organisations, we think we'll have commercial passenger aircraft using this technology by 2035. That's 9 years away.
Yeah.
Long time, isn't it?
Seems like a long time.
And that's a lot of money you're investing to get something where you can finally say, yep, we've got it now. Now, I can see the attraction because you could then, I think, not only fly with fewer carbon emissions, but you'd also be able to do it at, I think, a much lower cost, because if you use renewable energy to separate your hydrogen, then you've got hydrogen at a very low cost, and then you put it in the aircraft. So I don't know the economies of a major airline, but I imagine fuel is a big part of the cost structure in running a modern aircraft.
So they're saying 2035. I reckon we can bring that forward.
I've worked on them.
But they always overestimate these things, and it turns out, we're 5 years ahead of budget, time budget.
I hope so.
People come up with new ideas all the time. You get enough heads thinking about these things.
Yep.
They're just working on their current number of heads and the current technologies and how that's developing. I reckon this just goes up.
Well, we've had a few fuel crises of recent times. All it will take is another major issue where the price of a barrel of oil goes to $200 and suddenly, I agree with you, these sort of timelines suddenly become throw some more people at that problem and let's get this problem solved. Maybe get some more worldwide collaboration happening. But it's exciting. Things are happening.
It's happening.
You will be on
exciting.
In sometime in the next decade. If you fly, you'll be on a hydrogen-powered aircraft, I believe. Yeah.
And looking at more good news on the horizon, this time in battery technology. You'll be well aware that lithium drives current battery technology. Combined with various other ions, there are a number of iterations of lithium-ion batteries currently on the market, so the demand on lithium supplies is enormous. Lithium mining is a highly lucrative in the current day, a highly lucrative industry. But that may all change if we can start making batteries from seawater and rock salt. Matt, what are the ins and outs of sodium batteries?
Well, let's start in the beginning. There are three ways we get our salt, our sodium. One is seawater. There's a fair bit of it out there.
Yeah.
I reckon we're not going to run out in the short time frame.
Plenty for your fish and chips.
That's right. We've also got underground rock salt. So we actually do some mining, if you like. And we do solution mining, where they actually pump water into salt to bring up the salty water. It just seems to me, get it out of the ocean. It's there. But I imagine the density of that
you're
is
looking at whichever's the most cost efficient, I think, is the one they'll go for.
That's right. So we've got a lot of salt available there. And even if we look at our crust, the Earth's crust, about 2.6% of the Earth's crust is salt. 0.002% of the Earth's crust is lithium. So we've got salt. If we could replace our lithium with salt, that seems like a pretty good solution.
Yeah.
It's not quite that easy, of course. It would be, if it was that easy, to already be done. Sodium ion, in terms of sodium ion batteries, are heavier than lithium ion batteries, and they're also not quite as good for energy density. They've been able to get to the point now where they've been able to deliver 175 watt hours per kilogram. To give you an idea, lithium ion batteries are typically at least 200 watt hours per kilogram.
Right.
So they're lighter, if you like, per power, or per the amount of power you can put out. That's important in car batteries, but not so important in grid scale or home batteries.
Home batteries, yeah.
So in grid scale batteries, we've already got, as we speak today, at the date of this podcast, sodium ion batteries are in use in grid scale batteries in China, in Germany, and in the US. Home battery systems are now appearing in the UK that are sodium ion. And again, what do we care?
Well, it makes sense.
If I've got a heavier battery next to my house or in my house on my concrete slab, I don't really care that it weighs a bit more than a lithium-ion battery. If it was cheaper to buy, which it should be, and I'm not having to do lithium-ion somewhere down the chain to actually get that, fantastic. The big thing is the car, and I in my mind, I kind of thought, okay, they'll focus on home batteries, grid-scale batteries, but there's a Chinese car manufacturer called Chang'an, Changan, and they will launch the first mass-produced electric vehicle using sodium-ion battery technology later this year. So by the end of this year, we'll have one. Now, what it should do for us is it should give us a cheaper car. And prices are coming down already. We know that in the early days of Tesla's very early days, probably 70% of the cost of the car was the battery, maybe even more than that was the cost of the battery. as that battery price comes down, the rest of the car is probably staying the same price, but the price is coming down. We know that EVs are coming down in price, but this would make them come down even further. So there's some good things there. Sodium-ion batteries are also inherently safer for some of those people who are really worried about a battery catching on fire in their car. They're also inherently safer because they generate less heat during operation, so the risk of fire should be less. So a lot of advantages here. And one of the things we talk about a lot, it's at the very beginning of the development of this technology. That's what we know today. That's how the situation is today. Give it another 10 years development with sodium-ion batteries and we'll go lithium-ion.
Yeah, remember those old days? The bad old days.
That's right.
I'm just so impressed that they're already out and about and being used prolifically in other countries.
Yeah, that's right. So it's good.
We're finding more and more these days that AI can get you out of all manner of troubles. But if you wield it carelessly, it can also lead you to your undoing. This is the lesson that one shifty landlord in the UK learned when they tried to cut some corners in their legal obligations. What are the details on this tale of AI-driven woe, Matt?
You just sometimes think, wouldn't it be easier just to do
the right thing?
That's right.
It's like an episode of Fawlty Towers. If Basil just did it right the first time.
If Basil just told the truth, everything would be okay.
Have a terrible TV show, but he would have just had a better life.
Exactly right. So in this scenario, there was a landlord that owned a couple of properties. So he probably had enough money to afford a smoke detector, not a fire detector. Sorry, smoke detector. So he probably had enough money to afford a smoke detector. And so he had some places that he was renting out, and the local council did their regular inspections, and they said, sorry, Mr. Landlord, you haven't got any smoke detectors in these places. You're renting them out. You've got to sort out the situation. So he said, okay, I'll do that. And he sent some photos the next day of the places with
Job done.
Smoke detectors. Thanks very much. And so the council signed off on that. Thanks very much. Well done. And it only came to light some weeks later, and I don't know whether one of the people renting it, one of the tenants, actually alerted the council or for some other reason, but the council officers went back and had another look, and they went, look at that. Look at there in the ceiling. There is no mark where a smoke detector has
Never
been.
been a smoke detector there.
And here's the photo that was sent to us for that smoke detector installation. Look at that. He just used AI. So all he'd done is taken a photo of that particular part of the ceiling, said to AI, please draw me this same photo or give me the same photo with a smoke detector on there, and sent that photo in.
Well, no doubt the AI photos were easier, but not that much easier than just putting a smoke detector up.
Now, he's got
Come on,
an
mate.
£11,000 fine.
Well, that's a big lesson.
For using or renting out his properties without smoke detectors. And he didn't get the fine the first time. He got a warning to go and fix it up, which he did. But then I think people are just coming up with ways, how can I use AI in a bad way today? How is something that I can do with AI that I can be very naughty here? And that's exactly what he was. So it's one of those things. It's
dear.
like, oh, really? Seriously? But people are using AI in so many different ways. And I know why AI, sometimes when you go to create something, I was doing a thing where one day when I wanted a picture of a person holding an arm, just a fake arm, a mannequin arm, and AI wouldn't do it for me because it said it shouldn't be having body parts in a photograph that it was creating. And I went, but I'm just doing it for a little fun little thing.
Make it look plastic.
That's right. So I can see why AI has got a whole range of rules in place. Are you going to say, no, I'm not going to draw a picture or give you a picture with a smoke detector? Because you might want to see where to put that smoke detector. I know my daughter uses AI sometimes to look at different things in her house. What about if I put the couch over here or put the couch over there or put the TV there? Great way to rearrange a lounge room without actually doing it. But at what stage does AI say, I think you're doing the wrong thing here. I think you're being naughty. Oh, gee, just do the right thing.
For the various AI engines available, the trick in staying above the competition lies in providing a product that none of the others do. That's really hard when the product you're trying to create comes from an idea that can easily be read and copied by others as soon as you release it. So, AI engine builders are trying now to tailor their product to specific zones or specific purposes. And ChatGPT is looking to move beyond simply answering questions and develop its expertise in workplace tasks, Matt.
I do like the way Aussies are jumping all over new technology. We've been known over the years as being readily accepting of new technology, and various companies over the years have used Australia as a bit of a test bed, A, because we adopt it quickly, and B, because we probably don't matter in the whole scheme of things across the world if something doesn't work here.
If it goes really pear-shaped,
that's right,
and Australia blows up, that's all right. There's only 25 million.
Or a small enough part of the market. You'd be very familiar with the Come From Away musical, and I think part of that whole concept when they landed all those planes there was if we land them in a major airport and they've got bombs on board, then that might be so good. But Come From Away,
there's only 7,000 people in there in Gander,
So in relation to this one, ChatGPT has got their new 5.6 model, and that gives you the ability to look at your stuff on your computer. That could be files, that could be your calendar, that could be your emails, and Aussie users are some of the first, I think the first actually in the world, to get access to this. Because what ChatGPT found, what OpenAI found, was that 40% of prompts from Australian users are already work-related. And that was quite high across the world. But we are jumping on AI. Aussies are using AI incredibly at a very high level. In fact, I even read a report recently where Claude, a different AI tool, said that the number one nation in terms of requests for Claude came from Australia. That wasn't per capita.
Wow.
That was number one request for a population of only 25 million. So quite fascinating. So ChatGPT's got this new model. And it says, if you're okay, and this is what scares me a bit, if you're okay giving me access to, your file system and your email and just basically everything on your computer, I'll do stuff for you. Look, go and have a lunch break. I'll just take care of some stuff. I'll answer those emails. I'll go and access the files off your computer. Look, actually, the naming system you've got isn't great. I'll rename some of those files for you. I'll do a whole range of things for you on your computer, and it'll all be okay. And what scares me about that is that when I answer an email, there's a couple of things that happen. One, you read that email, you absorb that information, and then you give an answer back with all your background, all your experience, and all your knowledge, and apply all that to the answer you give back. And that does two things. Hopefully it gives the right answer, but also adds to your information, adds to your personal knowledge base. So when that person sees you in 2 months' time, or when you've got another situation the same, I remember that. James sent me that email, and this is the answer I gave him, and everything makes sense, and we have that conversation. But if you get an answer back from me that you don't know has come from chat, and you go, all right, okay, if that's what Matt thinks, I'll take his advice on that. And then you have the conversation with me 2 months later, I go, what are you talking about, James? No, I've got the email from you. Oh, that's right, James. I remember that now. So it's pretty scary allowing you to do that. And so if you've got your AI tool doing some work for you and sending me an email, and then my AI tools doing some work for me, then I'm just getting a couple of AI tools here, having a conversation, going about their day, and we're doing nothing. We're sitting at the beach drinking pina coladas. So at some point,
covering for it.
What is the point of all these AI tools doing stuff with each other if no human's actually involved in the process? So it's fascinating. And
it is.
I don't know where this is going to end. I don't know how much we're going to trust AI.
I don't think it's going to end, but I wonder how it's going to evolve where it goes with this and these tentacles of AI. What sort of influence they do cut. I think it's got a tremendous influence already.
Yeah.
But with any tool, the way we use it always evolves. Yeah.
And it's quite funny when you see an email come to you that you know they just dropped into an AI tool to give an answer they couldn't be bothered. And you want to go, I want to call them out on this. I want to say nice AI answer or something. Oh, no, it's a bit rude. I'll just go and get my AI tool to go and answer that and let them have their little AI conversation. But at some point, you want the human involved. You want the human to be actually aware of what it's doing. It's almost like, okay, at the end of the day, I'll download. I'll give you a summary of what I did for you today.
Yeah.
Oh, good. Thanks, Alpha Rain. And James, I know that I can say that I answered that email.
Well, if we look at AI like it's a tool to support what we do rather than it's a tool to do what I do.
Yeah, maybe think of it as a hammer and chisel rather than as a robot.
As a substitute you.
Yeah. It's changing. It's changing from week to week. It's quite fascinating.
Yeah. And just like that, we are done for another week, folks. There's a whole host of plus-size ladies staring us down, and they have their songbooks open, ready to go. This show is over. Thanks for another cracking tech talk, Matt.
That's right. I'm really going to explore this further with Graves. I just think symmetries and solar panels. I just don't know how people are going to feel about it, but I love the idea. I want to chase that down and see what we come up with.
There'll be plenty of cranky people to tell you exactly what you can do with your solar cells and symmetries. Thanks for tuning in once again, folks. Tech Talk with Matthew Dickerson is a pleasure to bring you each week, and we hope to bring you the next episode in exactly 7 days' time. Tech Talk with Matthew Dickerson is a home-brewed podcast made from all natural ingredients with a fresh, hoppy aftertaste that'll have you coming back again and again. I'm your host, James Eddy, and if you haven't already, then it's high time you made us one of your favourites and invited some friends to do the same. If nothing else, it makes us feel good, and that in turn will make you feel good, and so everybody wins. See you next week.